Hey, it's Dikas. And I'm an alcoholic, just the record. I'm an alcoholic who actually likes to shoot meth alcoholically, just to keep the record real clear here. But I found my sobriety within the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was having a wonderful conversation this morning with one of my sponsees who's having a moment with the fourth step. And, so many people, I want to actually give a talk today about the fourth step because the fourth step just seems to be one of those scary and mysterious things. And what I've come to understand in my journey and how I share it with my sponsees is what I'd like to share with you today. And that's basically that it is not scary. It's not some awful thing. But I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to read straight out of the book, right? And then I'm going to read a couple of little things. It says, this is the beginning of the first step here. It says, next, we launched out on a vigorous course of action. Okay, so right off the very, very, very start there, that first sentence says, next, we launched out on a vigorous course of action. That means something is going to happen. You are going to actually do something, and you're going to do it vigorously. And it's going to be a launching. You know, like when the space shuttle, God rest their soul, used to launch from Cape Canaveral, what would happen? It took a lot of thrust. It was a huge effort to actually get this thing off the ground and launch it to space, right? Or when a little baby bird is, the mother of an eagle is got her little baby eagle right at the edge of the nest, and mom just kind of kicks the eagle out, and guess what happens? Man, they launch with a vigorous sense of action. So that's the way you're going to do this fourth step. After you've made a decision in the third step, that's what you do. That's what you start this thing. You don't put it off. This isn't for later. This is for now. So the first step, which is this first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us had never attempted. Okay, that word personal house cleaning comes up a lot in meetings. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about really steps 4 through 9 here. Though our decision, third step, was a vital and crucial step. Vital, just so you know, vital means your life depends on it. You know when they take your vital signs of the doctor, right? Those are your signs if you're alive or if you're dying, right? So it's a vital and crucial step, taking this third step. But then it says it could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort. Okay, so not like in a week, not like in 2 months, not like step a year, step a month. No, at once, followed by a strenuous effort. Again, launch to face and be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Okay, so my sponsor would often pop quiz me. He says, "Why do we do the fourth step? Why do we do the personal house cleaning?" And if I didn't come up with this answer, I'd get smacked. The answer is because it is an effort to face and be rid of the things which had been blocking us. Blocking us from what? Blocking us from the power, right? So if I'm powerless and I'm seeking power, there are a certain amount of things in life that are blocking me from being able to access this power. So for me, you can call God whatever it is you want, universe, Jesus Christ, whatever you want to call it. Okay. What I know for fact, for myself, this might be different for you, for myself, I have this thing called intuition. And that is my God installed or universal installed mechanism in which reality tells me what to do and what not to do. So the things that block me from my intuition is what I need to take a strenuous effort to be rid of. Okay, so our liquor was about a symptom. So liquor, drugs, you name it. Those things are just symptoms of, this lack of power. So we had to get down to the causes and the conditions, right? And the causes and conditions are going to be the things that drive us to do this, right? Okay, so therefore, we started upon a personal inventory. Step 4. This was step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke, right? So we're using the analogy now of a business because it's a lot easier to talk about something over there and see why the hell it's going broke than it is to talk about yourself. But this analogy is really an analogy about yourself. So a business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory, right, a business inventory, is a fact-finding, that would be searching, and a fact-facing, that would be fearless, process. It is an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade, right? So the stock in trade is your goods that you have for sale in your little corner store, let's just say, right? So, and you need to find out the truth. You need to find out which things are old, which things are damaged. So in ourselves, a searching and fearless moral inventory. So really, the word moral isn't like values from the church or values from your parents. No. That's not it. We're looking to find the truth in any given situation, the truth of what has motivated you in your life. That's what we're getting down here to look for. It is an effort to discover the truth of the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damage or unsaleable goods, to get rid of them promptly and without regret. So in a little corner store, you've got cans that are dented. You've got milk that's expired. You've got loaves of bread that are squashed, right? These are damaged or unsaleable goods. And unless you as a business owner recognize these things, people walk into your store, right? They walk into your store, they look around, and they're like, holy shit, this is a mess. And what do? They turn around, they walk to the store next door, which is everything's laid out perfectly, it's beautiful, right? They leave. So what's being asked here is, sorry, technical glitch there, actually turned it off, but I'm sure I can seamlessly put it all back together. So, right, we're talking about damaged and unsaleable goods. People will walk into your store and they will walk right the hell back out if it's not good. So, it says, if the owner of the business is going to be successful, he needs to get rid of things promptly and without regret. And by promptly, it means quickly. You just got to notice it, see it, and go, no good. No good. And without regret, meaning that you just don't, oh, shit. I don't, it's my favorite. No. Promptly and without regret. He cannot fool himself about his values. We did exactly the same thing with our lives. We took stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws of our makeup which caused our failure. Okay? So we're looking for the parts of ourselves that's causing our lives to be a failure. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us, we considered its common manifestations. Okay? So being convinced that self, right? Myself is the problem here. I'm the problem, right? And the way that the self manifests in various different ways, manifest just means like it appears as. And you'll never guess what those ways are. The common manifestations of self are fear, resentment, and guilt, shame, and remorse. Imagine that. Those are the things that we inventory. Good thing. Okay. It then says, resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else, right? Why'd you get loaded? I was pissed. Why'd you get loaded? Because they wronged me. List goes on and on and on. From it stems all form of spiritual disease. For we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. Okay, when I first read this, my eyes rolled, and I had no idea what they were talking about. However, I found this wonderful writing. And I found this actually in, just to be honest, true, and fair here, and help to support, I found this in the sponsorship guidebook. I don't know if you can see there. Sponsorship guidebook. And it is from Joe McQueenie from, those two old guys, Joe and Charlie, that had those great, Big MOOC seminars. So this is Joe McQueenie, and he has this thing called the Kelly Foundation, which I will actually put here in the lower part, and it's a sponsorship guidebook, and it's got a lot of great information in it. And what I love about it says, it's not so important what you do, it's the sequence in which you do it. Okay, so from that, I read this incredible thing that talks about spiritual illness. It says, spiritual illness, like other illnesses, displays certain symptoms and can be diagnosed and treated. When a person is physically ill, he will see a physician who will evaluate his symptoms, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a method of treatment, which will, in most cases, lead to recovery. If a person is mentally ill, he will see a psychiatrist who will evaluate the symptoms, diagnose the problem, and prescribe a method of treatment that will lead to either improvement or recovery. In the same vein, when a person is spiritually ill, right? When a person is spiritually ill, he may seek spiritual advice or counseling. The spiritual advisor or counselor or sponsor will evaluate the symptoms, determine the problem, and suggest a method of treatment for treating the problem. In each case, the individual must, not maybe or ought to or should, program of suggestion, must, must carry out the procedures for recovery. When we are spiritually sick, we are blocked off from God. We will always display 3 symptoms, right? So when we're spiritually sick or blocked off from God, we talked about intuition before, right? Intuition is the thing that tells me this. This is the thing that was installed by the universe, right? And it tells me, do this, don't do that, walk away, say you're sorry. Okay, that thing gets blocked. What does it get blocked by? Well, it says here that blockage is always displays 3 symptoms: resentment, fear, guilt, shame, and remorse. The result of conflict with other people. Imagine that, right? Okay, when we are blocked from God's directions, we will always feel angry and resentful, and we'll be filled with self-pity, and we will feel like the whole world is out to get us. Spiritually sick people will always be fearful when they feel threatened and endangered. They will feel afraid to mix with others. They will always feel right, and they will always feel others are wrong. They will avoid relationships because they know there will be trouble. When this condition exists, the person is not using his God-given directions, right? No. To live by, because he cannot use them. His negative thoughts and ideas have effectively blocked him. This noisy place called my head is often filled with resentment, fear, and guilt, shame, and remorse. And when it is stuck there, it is so freaking noisy. This one guy from my meeting says, K-fuck FM. It is, it's like heavy metal. That's what he says. That's kind of funny. Excuse me for swearing. But you get the point. It's a really, really, really noisy place upstairs, right? So Purpose of the house cleaning: to face and be rid of the things that are blocking us, right? In step 4, we face. We make an inventory. We write out all the things we're fearful of. We write out all the things we're resentful for. We write out all the things that we've done wrong or harms done, which are usually in the form of sexual harms done and just regular old harms done. I screwed this person over. I screwed that person over, right? So those are the things we write down, right? That's in the 4th step. In the 5th step, we show that all to a sponsor or a spiritual advisor, and they help us to see the things that perhaps we failed to consider. In 6 and 7, we become entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. The thing I like to say about defects of character is simply that they are misperceptions. They are not anything tangible. They are all things that occur in our thinking process, right? A fear is nothing you can actually touch. A fear is a way of thinking. So I like to call that a misperception. The way I misperceive reality causes X, Y, Z. So you can misperceive reality in fear. You can misperceive reality in guilt, shame, and remorse, right? So, 6 and 7 and 8 is become entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character, these misperceptions. And then in 8 and 9, we go out and we right the wrongs of our past. We make reparations. We have, in the course of our lives, we have made a lot of things wrong. Oh, yes, at least I did. Maybe you didn't, but I did. I wronged a lot of people. I harmed a lot of people. And what I do in steps 9 is 8 and 9 is I go out and I attempt to right my wrongs of my past. Because and I literally go to them and I say, what can I do to make this right? And I give that person an opportunity to really help make things right. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 to face in the beginning, and finally in the 9th step to be rid of the things that are blocking us from our intuition. Let me tell you, when you have a head that's full of fear, resentment, and guilt, shame, and remorse, you can't hear your intuition. But when you do these steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, when you do them thoroughly, what does it say? Painstakingly. If we're painstaking about this part of the what's the word? Procedure? No, it's not it. Process. Yeah, if we're painstaking, we need to take pains in doing that. But what happens is all of that stuff goes from here to there. And then guess what's here? Not much. Not much. It's real quiet. It's a very, very, very quiet space. When thought comes up, it's because something needs to happen. A check needs to be written. This, that. Something needs to. But it's not in response or in collision with the world around you. It talks about in the 4th step, or in the 3rd step, that the reason we turn our will and our life over to the care of God is because we don't do such a good job running it, right? Because everything is selfish, self-seeking, self-centered, me. And it says that we have to get rid of this self-centeredness or it kills us. Because I don't know if you happen to notice, but this disease is deadly for some. And it can be for you too. It can be for me too, right? So here's the how and why of it. First of all, we had to quit playing God. Why? The next line, I love this line, because it didn't work. It didn't work. So that's why we have to stop saying you should, if only, you need to. No, you got that right. It needs to be like, it's like this, I'm playing God and I'm trying to impose, right? But in reality, anything I can point at that I say, no, you should, with a sense of authority, that's not it. That's the truth. Anything I can point at, that's the truth. right? But when I try to impose my will on things, that's me actually fighting God. Or you don't like the word God, it's me trying to fight reality. That's me getting into a fist fight with reality. Guess what happens when I get into a fist fight with reality? Guess who wins? Not me. Not me. I walk away bloodied and bruised and broken. Reality wins every time. So that's my little spiel on the fourth step. It is about finding the way that you misperceive reality. It's building a map through your fears, your resentments, your guilt, shame, and remorse. Building a map of how this mind misperceives reality on a regular basis, right? So that in future, what happens is, in step 6 it says we become entirely ready. What does that mean? That just means we stand in a state of readiness at all times to see what we have saw, know what we're seeing, where we're at, and then being in a state of absolute readiness to make a different choice. This program is not about changing yourself. This is not about you learning a newer, better, more, grand way of being. It's about letting go of how you did things and then becoming entirely ready to have God or the universe or your intuition direct your life from this point forward. From this point forward. So, book was written in 1939. Got a lot of old words in it, but that's why it's very important to find a sponsor who can explain these things to you in a way that you understand. And so, hopefully today, I've helped you understand a little bit of what I understand. So, great.